Hey guys, I'm gonna get started in just a second. A couple of things that I want to discuss. So we're getting an awful lot of information from the various polling sites around the city, and I'll be honest with you, I'm shocked. I am pleasantly surprised at the number of individuals who are turning out in what potentially could not be worse conditions. We've obviously never seen anything like this as far as the pandemic, but a lot of individuals are undeterred. And I want to give a different perspective on that because there are a lot of individuals who are very upset with the number of folks who are showing up to vote because of the potential consequences. But I also want you to consider the potential consequences if these people stay home. The turnout that we are seeing so far, as of roughly 1 p.m., I think we posted some photos of some polling sites in majority Black and brown communities, is just, it's staggering. And the amount of patience these people are exercising it's incredible. But if you can imagine for a moment, in 2016, these are the exact same people that did not turn out the way they should have or in the numbers that we were expecting to vote for Hillary Clinton. Let's also be very clear about this. If Hillary Clinton was president, chances are we would not have the pandemic to this scale in the United States right now. So let's not shame people for participating in this election as them making restitution for them not voting in 2016. The other thing that I want to note is there really hasn't been very much in the way of communication from Bernie Sanders or Joe Biden, the two Democratic candidates who are vying for the nomination. They've been silent, essentially, at least in the city of Milwaukee. I don't know if they've been running ads outstate, but in the city of Milwaukee, this is about local elected officials. This is about city races. This is about the county executive race. Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders have essentially been silent, and they're supposed to be top of the ticket because these are the two individuals who are running to face off against Donald Trump in November. That's why this election is so incredibly important, because the first time, at least in my life or in my involvement in politics, people are putting more attention on their local elected officials than they are on the presidential candidates. As far as the health risks that are associated with going out and voting today, and there's a lot of individuals who are making their thoughts and feelings known, that people are not very smart for going out to vote and social distancing and the whole 9 yards. I wish those people had the same level of concern for African American health disparities any other day of the year. This pandemic will subside. It will. I don't know when. I don't know what the ultimate toll is going to be that it takes on our communities, our state, and our nation, but it will subside. When this pandemic subsides, are the same people that are concerned about Black and brown communities' health today going to be concerned about the health disparities that will still remain? Let me also say this. The only form of institutional power that Black and brown people have in this nation is through the ballot. The only form of institutional power that Black people have is through the Democratic Party. That is why this is so important. Another reason why this is so important, for some African Americans, myself included, voting is ritualistic and it's also cultural. I have parents that grew up in the pre-civil rights movement South, and I got firsthand stories about what it was like to register to vote, what it was like when you attempted to vote. The bank would foreclose on your house. If you tried to vote in Mississippi in the mid-1960s and you registered to vote, they would put your name in the paper, so you would lose your job and the bank would foreclose on your house, and then you would be subjected to terrorism. Your house would get firebombed, your house would get vandalized, because it was such a threat to the current status quo in the South at the time. Black people voting was a threat. You got to understand that we celebrate these heroes, or at least y'all pretend to, every Black History Month. And we look how courageous some of these freedom fighters were. And oh my God, John Lewis, you're a hero because you dealt with your own mortality, your own safety. You put participating in this democracy above your own safety. You know, people are doing that right now, but for some reason we are telling them not to do it. You can't tell people to stay home when it means that much to them, but then encourage them to vote in November to vote out Donald Trump. Voting out Donald Trump starts right now. There's not just one election. You have to participate in all of them. And I think the strength and resolve that people are showing today in the midst of a pandemic should be encouraging for everyone. I voted last month. In fact, I may never go to another polling place again. I rather like the idea of requesting my ballot online, filling it out in my home, and sending it back, and never have to deal with going to another polling location. Now, there are some individuals who don't trust that process. They don't know if their ballot is going to be counted. They don't know if there's going to be some kind of, tomfoolery when their ballots get received. So what I know of poll workers, these are very dedicated, honest, fair, decent human beings. That's first and foremost. I got to say that. Because individuals that work at the polls, at least in the city of Milwaukee, they've been doing so for 30 years. These are really good, decent individuals that care about this democracy so much that they are willing to help administer it. And to try and ease some fears of those who may not trust the vote by mail system, I don't think that some of our 65-year-old, 75-year-old poll workers are going to risk getting a federal felony for election tampering by throwing your ballots away. Like, you know, what kind of elaborate scheme you would have to devise to try and, get rid of ballots or hide ballots. Listen, every now and again, things like that happen, but by and large, you're dealing with individuals who are very fair and who are very honest. I want to go over some polling location information because there are still individuals who believe that their regular polling place is where they can go today. That is not the case. Maybe in a handful of instances where the 5 City of Milwaukee polling locations is where you typically vote. But for the vast majority of the individuals in this city, you are going to go to a new place. If you live in Aldermanic Districts 1, 3, and 6, and as best I can, I'm going to try and recall who the alderpersons are. Aldermanic District 1, your alderman would be Ashanti Hamilton. Aldermanic District 3, your alderman would be Nick Kovac. Aldermanic District 6, your alderwoman is 1, 3, and 6 Aldermanic districts. You vote at Riverside High School, 1615 East Locust Street. If you live in the 2nd Aldermanic district, which is Alderman Chevy Johnson, or the 5th Aldermanic district, your alderwoman is Nakia Dodd. If you live in the 9th Aldermanic district, your alderwoman is Shantia Lewis. Those individuals, Aldermanic districts 2, 5, and 9, you vote at Marshall High School. If you live in Aldermanic District 4, which is Bob Bauman, Aldermanic District 12, or Aldermanic District 14, you vote at South Division High School, 1515 West Lapham Boulevard. Just posted pictures from South Division High School, and the lines there are tremendous over at South Division High School. So if you live in Aldermanic District 4, 12, or 14, be prepared for long lines. If you live in Aldermanic District 7, which is Alderman Khalif Rainey, or Aldermanic District 10, which is Alderman Mike Murphy, or the 15th Aldermanic District, which is Russell Stamper, you vote at Washington High School, 2525 West Sherman Boulevard. That's reasonably close to my house. So early this morning, I went and did a drive-by at Washington High School. There are a number of traffic reroutes over in the area of Washington High School, and Milwaukee law enforcement has got a bunch of streets blocked off. I'm assuming that's to control the flow of traffic. So if you have yet to go vote at Washington High School, if you live in Aldermanic District 7, 10, or 15, be aware of that. The traffic is somewhat hindered by the number of streets that are blocked off. And if you live in Aldermanic District 8, 11, or 13, you would vote at Hamilton High School at 6215 West Warnemount Avenue. There are a couple of exceptions. If you live in Aldermanic District 1, but your normal voting ward is Ward 47, you'll actually go to Washington High School. If you live in Aldermanic District 4, Bob Bauman's District, Ward 181, you're going to be going to Riverside High School. Aldermanic District 7, Ward 107, you're going to Riverside High School. And District 7, Ward 67, you vote at Riverside High School as well. To find out your specific ward, because most people may not know what ward they vote in, go to myvote.wi.gov and you can input your address information. They can tell you not just what your ward is, but what specific Milwaukee high school that is designated as your special polling place in these very unusual circumstances. myvote.wi.gov. For those of you who requested your mail-in ballot and fortunately received it, I'm hearing from way too many people who requested their ballot in a decent amount of time several weeks ago and it never came. You are able to go and vote at one of the designated locations. It will say in the poll book that you requested an absentee ballot. You're going to have to sign the poll book when you bring your identification, stating that you are voting at that site in person and you are not going to return your mail-in ballot. I just really hope that individuals do not go and vote in person and then also return their mail-in ballot, because that's going to be a whole nother set of circumstances to deal with. See if there's any questions here. Scroll through. I probably should address the topic of this live of me now returning to WNOV, and I'm only going to address it briefly because so many people have asked me if I'm going to be on air this weekend, on Friday rather. So fairly recently, I did go back to WNOV, and those of you who may not know, I broadcasted on WNOV for 6 years, and I left in July of 2018. I recently agreed to go back, not 5 days a week, but just on Fridays for a 3-hour program. I decided that I didn't want to jeopardize my health or anybody else's health by just going to WNOV for one program, 3 hours a day, once a week, when the stay-at-home order was issued. While I believe media and disseminating crucial and vital information to people is important, there are a lot of other programs on WNOV where people could get information. So I decided that I was going to honor the stay-at-home order and not go to WNOV on those Fridays. Well, recently, my very good friend Michelle Bryant departed from WNOV, and if you want all the details of that, she spells it out pretty clear in a live broadcast she did a few days ago. So if you're interested in all of those reasons, what Michelle said, the reasons that she gave, those of us who have worked at WNOV for any period of time have experienced a lot of what she said. So I back Michelle up. She is credible in the information that she disseminated about that radio station, and why those of us who have worked there previously never disclosed some of the misgivings. And listen, no organization is perfect. Let's be clear about that. But why we didn't disclose some of the misgivings of that organization previously, because WNOV is still a really important institution in this community for disseminating information, and has been for a very, very long time. And I'm not the kind of person who is into exposing dirty laundry, but if I'm wronged and if I'm made to look like the bad person, then I, of course, and you all would as well, you want to clear your names. Because I had to go around with WNOV for 6 years prior to, and I just recently agreed to go back for 1 day a week, I don't want to participate in some of the things that have transpired at that radio station since my departure and my re-arrival. It just isn't worth it. Well, we're coming to find out now more than ever that this platform of direct conversation and real-time communication with people via Facebook Live or whether it be a podcast is the most efficient way to communicate to people. No, this is not the same as broadcast radio, because there's a number of individuals who get their information from talk radio, especially some of our seniors and some of those folks who are not tech savvy. Like, I can't imagine explaining to my parents, how to log into Facebook and watch a live video to get their daily news, or explaining to my 70-plus-year-old parents how to tune into a podcast. So there is a cohort of people that have been listening to radio and to talk radio for many, many years, if not many, many generations, that unfortunately we may lose direct communication with them if we switch to these digital platforms of podcasts and of Facebook Live. But there's also an opportunity here that I'm going to explore, because I've always been kind of anti-Facebook Lives because I'm an old funny duddy, and I just, I'm old school. I like broadcasts. I like taking telephone calls and, speaking to people in real time. So I've always kind of been stuck in that mindset. But here's where the opportunity is. There's a number of young people that are not engaged in anything. We don't know anything about them. We don't know what they do, what they like, what they love, their thoughts, their feelings. We don't know anything about them. This is a way in which we can engage the next generation of leaders in our city, in our state, in our country. They are glued to social media. It's where they get everything. It's where they shop. It's where they socialize. It's where they meet people. And I think those of us who are 40 plus need to use the platforms of the younger generation so we can be in communication with them. Because what we can't have is more of what we have right now. Two different Americas that get different information from different places. If we have learned nothing, inconsistent information hurts our democracy. That has been shown time and time again, and it is abundantly clear that that is what is happening right now. So I'm going to continue to use the platform. And I know every other person and their mother is now doing Facebook Lives to talk about the election and talk about other things. But that's because it's a very valuable platform, and it's nimble and it's fast. And if something happens at a moment's notice, you can break information on this platform. So this is likely something I'm going to use with a bit more regularity. The elections that are on the ballot are crucial. And I know that you've heard that in every single election. But look at the number of individuals who are standing in line all day. Because remember, a lot of folks are not working, so they have all day to stand in line. And it is that important to them. But I'd like to think that a lot of these folks, they're not standing in line to vote for Bernie Sanders. Maybe some people are. If you live in the city of Milwaukee, you're not out there standing in line for 2 hours or 3 hours with a mask and gloves on because you're that gung-ho to vote for Bernie Sanders. You're excited to vote for Lena Taylor. If you're going out of your house where you're not working during a pandemic and you're going to vote and you have to put on protective equipment to go vote, you're probably going to vote for David Crowley. We have never seen such opportunities for African Americans to become leaders in this city and this county ever before. But isn't it unusual, like this twist of fate or irony, that when we have all of these new opportunities to totally change the status quo, and let's be clear, the status quo got us here. We're here because of the status quo. The leadership that exists in this city, I've never been more disappointed in my life. Now, I'm not the mayor, but I play one on Facebook Live. If I'm the mayor of the city of Milwaukee, my health commissioner is giving daily briefings on COVID-19 every day, every single day, because we are, at last I checked, we were the 6th highest number of cases of any metro area in the country. And trust me when I tell you, Milwaukee is not nearly the 6th largest metro area in the country. We are not. But we are the 6th highest number of COVID-19 cases in the nation. The city of Milwaukee health commissioner needs to be engaging people and sharing information every single day, giving information every single day. That does not happen. If I'm mayor of the city of Milwaukee, my election commissioner is giving daily briefings every single day, telling people what to do, where to vote, how you can request your ballot, how you can track your ballot. That has not happened. Do you see that void of leadership? And here's the thing, this isn't personal. I'm not saying that these are bad individuals. I'm just saying that we had leaders in place that are not equipped to deal with a tragedy or a health crisis or a pandemic. And maybe they thought we would never have one, but we do have one. And this is where we see what leaders exist. Because if they were taking their jobs as seriously as some of us are taking our health and the health of our loved ones, they would be providing us information every single day, or at least making it appear that they care enough to go in front of TV cameras and to do press conferences and to do press briefings. Because right now, all we have basically is the governor from New York, Governor Cuomo, and Donald Trump providing us information. And that just doesn't fly straight. If we are in a city that is the sixth highest new COVID cases, and our city leadership that's problematic. The motivation that people have today, I want you all to encourage it. They know what kind of risks they are taking by going out and voting today. You also got to keep in mind, some of the people that are shocked and appalled by the number of folks who are going out to vote were shocked and appalled and had been shaming Black people, especially Black men and Black women in the city of Milwaukee who did not turn out in these numbers in November of 2016. You guys remember that? I'll never forget it. We as African Americans were blamed because our numbers were lower. It's here in Milwaukee and Wisconsin, Michigan and Pennsylvania and Philadelphia, where African American voters did not turn out. Now we are turning out, and there are people telling us to stay home. Listen, the individuals that are telling people to stay home today are not credible anyway, because you don't express the same kind of concern about the other disparities that exist in the African American community. So you all saying Black people, oh, don't go vote, you need to stay home. I can't believe people are doing this. Nobody's listening to you. In fact, you need African Americans to come out and vote in very, very high numbers so that Democratic candidates win. But for African American people in Black communities, it is different. It is our only source of institutional power. Black people don't have power in corporate America. They're not wealthy African Americans who are pulling the strings and calling the shots in this nation. What we do have is the democratic process. That's it. So you have to be very, very careful when you are shaming people by going out and voting. They know that they're risking their health. They know that they're risking their lives. And my question to you is, why aren't you taking it that seriously? There are ways in which you can go out in public and protect yourself. People are going to the store. People are running their essential errands because they have to, right? And I said this on a previous live, but I just have to drive this point home because I keep hearing from people telling me how stupid we are. Well, not everybody. Some people are looking to us as leaders and as heroes. The number of messages that I have gotten from people around the country that want to help, that want to send food, that want to feed people, it's extremely difficult. This is not a normal set of circumstances where in any other case, if there's individuals from somewhere else and they want to send resources and they want to feed people who are standing in line getting ready to vote, we could do that very, very easily. We could easily put together the logistics and the infrastructure to take care of people while they're in line, but now we can't. It's a matter of ordering the food and going and getting the food, and then everybody has to wear masks and gloves and personal protective equipment, and then handing the food to other individuals. There's just too much risk in that right now, but God bless all those individuals who are looking at Wisconsin, because we are the only state that is holding an election during this pandemic. And let me be clear, we are showing the country how to do it. It's not just us seeing these pictures. It's not just us here in the city of Milwaukee and Wisconsin seeing these long lines of patient heroes that believe in democracy as much as they believe in their own beating heart. People all over the country are being inspired by us, as opposed to 2016, right? When everybody hated Wisconsin because we elected Donald Trump. People are probably remorseful of that because Donald Trump is the reason why this pandemic has reached epidemic proportions. And so people say, you know what, let me go out and exercise my right. Let me go out and participate in this democracy. Let me go vote for Joe Biden because he can bring some Barack Obama sensibilities back to the White House. And a word on that, because the Biden campaign has been relatively silent. They haven't really done much in terms of outreach in the city of Milwaukee and the state of Wisconsin. I don't know what the Biden campaign has done outstate, but they've essentially been quiet, which is okay with me because it allows local candidates to get more airtime. When you're not seeing 1,001 Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders commercials, that gives more time for our local candidates to get some of that airtime and to spread their message. Because usually when you have a presidential primary, they flood the airwaves and all you hear is this presidential candidate, that presidential candidate, et cetera, et cetera. So because they have done so very little, the local candidates have a little bit more opportunity to get their messages out. When Barack Obama gave Joe Biden the Presidential Medal of Freedom, you guys remember that? Joe Biden was standing next to Obama, just like a faithful, humble servant to Barack Obama, like Joe Biden was. And nobody knew. Joe Biden didn't know. Nobody in the audience knew. No members of the press knew that Barack Obama would give his final Presidential Medal of Freedom to his friend and brother, Joe Biden. I need you guys to understand something about Barack Obama that I don't think a lot of us got. He was teaching us lessons every day of his presidency. He was changing the image of African American men in power in this nation. He wasn't just a president for black people. There were a lot of white folks that thought that Barack Obama was just going to, like, I don't know, free the slaves all over again and give black people a bunch of reparations. He was the president for everybody in the country. And so he was able to change stereotypes. The most important stereotype that I believe Barack Obama changed was the image of the black father. He changed those images that America had beaten into us by biased media. And so he was able to change that. But the other thing that he was able to illustrate, because when he picked Joe Biden to be his running mate, I thought he was nuts. I'm like, dude, you're going to lose the race. Why would you pick Joe Biden? There was something very particular about his selection of Joe Biden to be his running mate. Did you notice in 8 years, Joe Biden never backstabbed, never disrespected? He always was an ally to Barack Obama the entire time. And Joe Biden is a 70-something-year-old white guy who used to pal around with segregationists back in the 60s, back in the 1970s. But let's be clear, a lot of white people did. And even those of you that call yourselves progressives now, your parents might have palled around with segregationists back in the 60s and 70s too. So don't throw stones. Joe Biden illustrated an amount of loyalty to Barack Obama, and you don't find that in America. When do you ever see a 70-something-year-old white man being loyal to a black guy who's like half his age? It doesn't happen. But when Barack Obama gave Joe Biden that Presidential Medal of Freedom, the last one he would give anyone as president of the United States, he said, "Hey, America, I vouch for this guy. He passed every conceivable test that I could have put him through, and he passed every conceivable test. He could be your next president." Now, the unfortunate matter is, and I guess it's a water under the bridge at this point, the reason why Joe Biden did not run for president in 2016 is because he was dealing with the loss of his son. But Barack Obama gave the ultimate endorsement, but we didn't see it like that. We didn't see it as Barack Obama endorsing Joe Biden's run for president when he gave them that highest of civilian honors. If those kinds of sensibilities can come back to America, I think that we're going to be just fine. Let me be clear about this, because this is not the only pandemic we're going to have. I'm not going to get into conspiracy theories, and please, would you all stop with the 5G towers? Please don't. Why would you do that? Why are you saying that? The 5G cell phone towers are somehow linked to the coronavirus. See, this is what happens when people don't get consistent information. They just make stuff up. And when they make stuff up, it gets more and more and more ridiculous. So the last pandemic that we had, well, it could have been a pandemic. The big one that we were afraid of, or at least I was afraid of, because I was on the air broadcasting when it was happening, was Ebola. Ebola, you guys remember Ebola? Of course you do. It ate you from the inside, and they showed people that had Ebola, and they just were like a skeleton, because you would get the Ebola, and it'd get all up in you, and you would just get eaten. We stopped Ebola in Africa because we had sufficient resources to quell pandemics before they got anywhere around the world. Could you imagine if Donald Trump was president when the Ebola crisis took place? We would be dead now. The sensibilities that existed in the Obama administration are needed now more than ever. Let me also say this, because Joe Biden is clearly not saying any of this stuff in his campaign in Wisconsin, and he's on the ballot today. Ruth Bader Ginsburg has got 9 lives, and I think she's used most of them up. She had like cancer. Then she had pancreatic cancer. It's a killer. But Ruth Bader Ginsburg survived that. She falls. Like every 3 months, Ruth Bader Ginsburg falls and breaks her rib. She is hanging on because she does not want Donald Trump to appoint her successor, because I think you have an idea of who Donald Trump will put on the Supreme Court. If Donald Trump gets another Supreme Court selection, they will change the Constitution in a way in which Donald Trump will be president forever. Joe Biden will pick someone very sensible to be on the U.S. Supreme Court. And I've always been under the impression that Barack Obama's name is on the short list. So if any of you believe that Barack Obama's political sensibilities are needed right now in America, maybe you didn't like him when he was president, but I bet he looks like a much more attractive person now, a much more attractive presidential candidate right now than he did. And maybe you didn't like the stuff he did and you didn't like your Obamacare. But to have those kind of political sensibilities right now, I think would be welcome. And if Barack Obama was on the Supreme Court, then his political sensibilities, at least how we look at the U.S. Constitution, would be in place until the day he dies. That's yet another reason why I think Joe Biden can help bring some normalcy back, because what we are seeing right now in this nation is far from normal. It's frightening. When I have to be cautious about going outside and going and running errands and you got to wear personal protective equipment, there's something that is intensely not normal about that. So we need to get these sensibilities back. And the other thing is this: Donald Trump was right when he said he could kill people on Fifth Avenue and not lose any supporters. Look at the picture, and I said this on a previous broadcast. Look at what Fifth Avenue looks like right now. There are individuals who would be on Fifth Avenue right now in New York that are no longer with us because we could not put in the necessary resources or infrastructure to stop a pandemic where it first started. And so I personally believe that Joe Biden would be the best candidate. The other thing is Bernie Sanders is, well, he's been relatively quiet. Hopefully he's somewhere being a senator. But Bernie Sanders is threatening to destroy the Democratic Party. You guys, it's not a secret. He wants to take the Democratic Party and destroy it because it doesn't work and because Bernie Sanders is able to lie and manipulate vulnerable people on the left, just like Donald Trump is able to do so on the right. If you destroy the Democratic Party, you will be destroying the only institutional power that Black people have in this country. Is the Democratic Party perfect? Oh, God, no. No, of course it's not perfect. It's made up of people. But I assure you that a Republican Party or whatever the Republican Party is nowadays would have never supported someone like Barack Obama. It is only through the Democratic Party can reasonable African-American candidates get political support. Republicans don't need African-American votes to win. They don't. So their agenda never has to cater to African-Americans. And I don't want to get on here playing the bitter partisan, but there are some individuals that believe, and God bless them for believing this, they believe that if they vote for Republicans, or if larger numbers of African Americans start voting for Republicans, that Republicans will start to tailor their agenda to African American needs and communities and disparities. Not true. Let me tell you why. In a lot of states, Wisconsin included, the Republicans already have all the political power that they could ever hope for. If they were that interested in courting the Black vote, they would start talking about Black issues now. The Republicans have a majority in the U.S. Senate. If they were so concerned about getting the Black vote and getting more African Americans over on their side, they would use the power of the gavel to try and influence positive outcomes for Black people. They won't do it because they don't need to. And by us thinking, oh, because I'm seeing a lot of this, oh, this is what you get for voting for Democrats. And Black people are always getting shamed for who we vote for. But we never say anything to white folks that continue to give their votes to Republicans. It's always Black people's fault. And it's even worse when it's coming from white people. You Blacks that didn't vote, I'm so tired of that. I'm so tired. And it's the same people that's telling us to stay home today, but will encourage us to go out in November. I appreciate you guys. I do. I want everybody to stay safe and look after your people. You know, check on your friends and your family, people that you would normally be spending time with in person. You probably cannot do that now until the stay-at-home order is lifted or probably extended. So make sure everybody's doing okay. But another thing I want you guys to do is to encourage individuals who are going on and participating in this process. Because you got upset when they didn't participate in 2016 and Donald Trump won the state of Wisconsin. Now individuals are trying to make restitution for that by going out and showing you their mettle in the middle of a pandemic. We need to be more encouraging of folks. We may not know the results of this election for some time, but eventually we will get the results, and hopefully those results are favorable, so that when this happens again, or something like this happens again, we have leaders in place that will be better prepared and better equipped to deal with it. Thank you guys so much. I may be back on at some point. I got a whole bunch of stuff going on, so if I need to get back on, if there's really important, vital information that I want to share with you guys, I will do so. You guys take care.